Welcome to Reigniting You, the show that explores a variety of topics and timely issues for making successful mid to late career transitions with a renewed sense of purpose and fulfillment for the next phase of your career and life, regardless of your age. Now, here's your host, Lisa Downs.
Welcome to Reigniting You, where we talk all things career transition for those age 40 plus. I'm Lisa Downs, Seattle-based career and retirement transition coach. Glad to be here with you today. And our producer, Eric. Hi, Eric.
Hey, good afternoon. Happy holidays,
Good
Lisa.
afternoon. Happy holidays, too. And we've got another great guest lined up for today, and actually our first international guest outside of the States, who's from Toronto, Ontario, Canada.
Very cool, eh?
Very cool, eh? Yes, absolutely. So we will be talking to our guest here in just a little while. She is Susan Latremoille of Success DNA, who's here to talk with me about key issues to consider, as well as the importance of the relationship with a financial advisor when you're planning a late career transition. And I'll introduce Susan right after this quick break.
Climbing the corporate ladder used to lead to success and a satisfying retirement. That ladder is now broken. You want to succeed today. Stop playing by yesterday's rules. 5 out of 6 millionaires started their own business. Now you can too. Introducing FranNet, your local franchise resource. With enough franchise options to fill CenturyLink Field, FranNet will help you find the right fit to realize your dream of being your own boss in a successful business. Be in business for yourself, not by yourself. Charlie McGee can help. Learn more at FranNet.com.
Hi, I'm Lisa Downs, career and retirement transition coach and host of Reigniting You on KKNW. I guide age 40-plus professionals to gain clarity, a renewed sense of purpose, and a career transition plan within 90 days so you can lead a fulfilling life regardless of your age. No longer does change have to mean riding off into the proverbial sunset. Let's talk about what your next phase of life can look like. Visit yournewaspect.com or call me at 425-216-3015. That's 425-216-3015. New Aspect Coaching. Fresh perspectives for your career.
Make us part of your daily routine. Alternative Talk 1150.
Welcome back to Reigniting You, the show that focuses on all aspects of making mid to late career transitions. Many thanks to our sponsor, FranNet, your franchise experts. And I'm happy to introduce my guest today, Susan Latremoille. Susan is the founder of Success DNA, helping baby boomers rewire, not retire, an advisory practice designed to help people know themselves better and discover their life's purpose. She's also a partner in Next Chapter Lifestyle Advisors, working with financial advisory firms, financial advisors, and their clients to plan the non-financial side of retirement. Formerly, Susan was a wealth advisor for 35 years. She holds an executive MBA from the Canadian School of Management, holds an ICD.D designation from the Institute of Corporate Directors, and the Family Enterprise Advisor designation from the Family Enterprise Exchange. She's also the author of 2 books, The Rich Life, Managing Wealth and Purpose, and It's Not Just About the Money, and is also co-author of a book called On the Shoulders of Atlas, a story about transitioning a family-owned business. Hi, Susan. Welcome to the show. So glad to have you join us today.
Hi, Lisa. I'm delighted to be here.
Excellent. Well, it's a pleasure to have you here, and I really appreciate your taking the time. So let's go ahead and get started. And with every guest, I like to start just by way of further introducing you to our audience for you to share your career path. So what's been your career journey throughout your career to date that's led you down to making different transitions?
Sure. Well, as you mentioned in the intro, Lisa, I've been a wealth advisor for the past 35 years. And in that role, I was really helping my clients plan their financial futures and manage their wealth. So it was very much focused on the financial side. And it was, I think, a wonderful service to be able to integrate financial planning and investment management. But as I watched my clients transition into retirement, I noticed that not all of them fared that well. And my clients usually had enough money to retire, so their worries weren't so much on the financial side as much as what they would do with their lives. So I saw people that were highly successful in their careers and business kind of shrivel and die, really, because of lack of purpose, loss of status, going from what we say who's who to who's he overnight, and really not faring that well. And they were surprised that they didn't feel happier in their retirement.
Yeah, and that's such an excellent point, because it seems like we spend so much time planning to make that move, and then people can get there, and once they get through that honeymoon phase, then turn around and go, "Okay, is this all there is?"
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
And, what's a lesson or 2 that you've learned along the way that's been helpful for you, in your career?
Sure. Yeah. So turning the attention then to my own career, there's an old adage that says, the harder I work, the luckier I get. And I really buy into that. I think that there's no substitute for showing up every day, putting your best foot forward, and just continually making progress. So that's one lesson I learned, that there's no time to just sit back and let the world happen to you. You've got to really get out there and put your best foot forward every day. I also think there's no substitute for asking for what you want. And I think, especially for women, they have maybe a harder time in asking and speaking up. But I think, yeah, speak up for what you want.
Mhm.
And then finally, I would say that it's really important to surround yourself with good people. If you're leading a team, make sure you have the strongest players on your team. And if you're part of a team, then really make sure that you're a good fit with the colleagues that you work with. So those are some of the things that have really been taught to me over these past number of years of my career.
That's great. Thank you for sharing those. And I just by way of follow up, I'm curious too about your point about speaking up and asking for what you want. When was a time when you really hit home for you, or just an example of when you needed to do that?
Right. Well, I changed firms and worked previously for a large bank firm, and then moved to an independent firm. And I think for me, it was to start to really think like an entrepreneur, realizing that the rest of my life was in my hands and it was what I was going to make of it. So thinking like an entrepreneur really helped. Unfortunately, I never had a mentor that I could say was looking out for me during my whole career
Mhm.
transition and career path. But I would say that if you have the opportunity to work with a mentor, someone you respect, that's got experience, that's willing to guide you, it's just a great shortcut for you achieving what you want.
Nice. And I also love the point you made too about surrounding yourself with great people who can support you, and almost like that concept of having your own kind of building your own board of directors.
Exactly.
Yeah. So who can be those different advisors or people in your life to
Mhm.
really help you along the way.
Yeah, and it's like a personal advisory board,
Yeah.
and you pick people for that role that you respect and that can bring different pieces of advice to you, that maybe have gone ahead of you in the path that you're on, and can show you the way to succeed without trying and failing so many times as we sometimes have to do in life.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I just, just to have a number of folks to draw on. I think so often we get in the mindset of, or just want to do things on our own, or those of us who can be a bit stubbornly independent, sometimes just want to go it alone, or I can do it myself. When
Yeah.
I find that going through times of change and transition, especially, it's so important to have that support system.
Absolutely. People you can collaborate with, that you see eye to eye with, that you help each other out. I mean, we can't do it all ourselves.
No.
So we really need to work closely with others.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I've really enjoyed my whole career, is working closely with teams and with other people, and being close to my clients. And, especially now we need our people more than ever.
We do. Yeah, especially times like this when we're dealing with all of us are dealing with a very stressful, anxious time this year, especially with so much going on, and in the middle of a global pandemic. So absolutely. And I'm also curious about what's been particularly helpful for you that's gotten you through times of change in your career, whether that was actions you took, decision points for you, skills you developed.
Well, I think having a vision of what you want to do and what you want to create is critical. It's another expression, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there.
Yep.
So I think it's really important to set your sights on something. Really say, I picture myself doing this in this time frame. So have the vision, set a time frame for what you want to accomplish in that time period, and then surround yourself with the right people that are really going to help you realize that. So it's all about our own initiative, our own get up and go, and
Mhm.
being smart, working smartly and hard, not just letting life happen to us. Kind of the difference between a go-getter mentality and a victim mentality, which is,
Mhm.
ask for what you want, go after it, seek it out, find your passion, and never look back.
Yeah, so true. And I think often too, we can fall into that trap of using I can't. So that's such a big phrase. Well, I can't do this because of X, or I can't do this because of Y. And it's like, well, okay, well, how is that going to get you to your vision and really to help you move forward?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So true.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for sharing about your career journey with us. And it's already time for our next break. So, when we come back, Susan and I will explore a few aspects of making late career transitions into your third act.
Are you feeling challenged or frustrated without a plan for what's next in your career and life? Are you seeing writings on the wall for needing to make a mid to late career change and don't know how or what to do? Coach Lisa Downs of New Aspect Coaching can guide you to what's next, providing a fresh perspective and supporting you to create a clear and compelling vision for your future and a plan to move forward. Call Lisa at 425-216-3015. That's 425-216-3015. New Aspect Coaching, fresh perspectives for your career.
I'm Nathan Mumm, and I'm the host of Tech Time Radio. Tech Time Radio is officially on KKNW from Saturdays from 4 to 5 p.m. You can listen to our show live. We are excited to also then rebroadcast our episodes on Thursday morning from 6 to 7 a.m. The hosts cover top tech stories with a funny spin.
That's good. So,
Hooked on Phonics worked for you, didn't it?
It did, just a little bit.
Grab your weekly technology without having to geek out.
Yeah, I can imagine.
We talk technology for the everyday common person.
What's your story? Have you ever sat with that question and looked to your heart for the answer? It's time to explore the real you. Tune in Thursdays from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. for the brand new show, Story You, with Coach Debbie. Debbie and her guests have a mission to inspire and coach you to find your voice. If you need direction, Story You with Coach Debbie is for you. If you want to be an author, Story You with Coach Debbie is for you. Tune in Thursdays at 4 p.m. and be inspired. Have a career transition related question or want to share your best or worst job story? Call 360-436-6496. That's 360-436-6496. Just leave a voicemail and we'll answer your question or share your story on a future show. Stay tuned for more Reigniting You with Lisa Downs.
Wherever you go, Alternative Talk 1150 is here for you.
Welcome back to Reigniting You, the show that discusses timely issues and topics about career transitions for Gen Xers and Boomers. I'm your host, Lisa Downs. We're here with Susan Latremoille of Success DNA. So, Susan, let's go ahead and dive back into our conversation. And when it comes to figuring out what a next career move is or what to do during our third age or third act of life, Where is a good place for people to start that process?
Well, Lisa, I think the best place to start is by knowing yourself really well. Everyone else has an idea of you can do this, you should do that, but I think it comes from knowing yourself very well. And sometimes we can't see ourselves. It's almost like you can't see the forest for the trees. And to that end, I use an assessment tool actually to help people really do a deep dive on what motivates them, what their priorities are, how they solve problems, how they deal with people. It actually covers about 85 of a person's behavioral traits.
Mm.
And once we finish that kind of an assessment, people really have a clear idea of who they are. And the assessment also indicates what fields they should be in, what careers would be a good match for them, and so on. So I think that the assessment tool is vital and knowing yourself. Now, sometimes into that, when I said you can't see the forest for the trees, I think it's a great idea to ask 10 people who you know and respect to
Mhm.
write you a letter and say, can you tell me what you know and what you feel about me? And can you identify what I'm really good at, what I'm uniquely good at? I did this a number of years ago and got input from 10 people. And boy, did it ever help me get clear about what I should be doing in the future, what my strengths were, and so on. So I think knowing yourself is definitely the place to start. And if you're having trouble with that, then ask people that are around you for their input. Once you know who you are and what you're cut out to do, it's a much easier transition, much easier to go down that path for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's always good to start with some data in terms of, well, who am I and what is it that I do well and what are those skills and strengths and traits and values and all of that that makes up who we are that you could then leverage just in a different way in this next phase. Great. And as someone who comes from a background as a wealth advisor previously, who's now more focused on that non financial aspect of retirement, what would you say is important to know about the relationship someone has with a financial advisor?
Well, first of all, I think it's important to have a financial advisor. I know there's a lot of opportunity now to do it yourself and figure it out on your own, but I really think having a relationship with a good financial advisor is critical to your long-term success, both as an investor and also in terms of your life. So, in looking for a financial advisor, someone you can trust and someone that is, let's say, more interested in you than just your money,
Hmm.
and that really takes the time to understand what you want to accomplish with your life, what you want your money to do for you, and then is invested in making a financial plan for you that's going to give you clarity about your financial future. So there's really no substitute for that. But I also think the financial advisor needs to have a holistic perspective on life. A
Hmm.
number of advisors in the past, for sure, were just focused on the money and not on the life. So someone that can integrate your financial plan with your life plan, someone who thinks outside of just what the market's doing and the economy's doing and what your portfolio's doing, but really takes an interest in you personally. And I would say that if your financial advisor works with a retirement coach or someone that has the skill set to really guide you, that it's a great collaboration between the financial advisor and the retirement or transition coach to help you. And that way you'll end up with an integrated plan, one that spells out your life plan as well as your financial plan and dovetails the two.
That's great. And then those two can be part of your advisory board.
Exactly. They'd be perfect candidates for your advisory board. Absolutely.
Excellent. And what have you seen are some potential traps that clients can fall into when it comes to their planning for their future? What would you say they may overlook?
Right. Well, a lot of people just don't plan. They just kind of roll along in life. And actually, I've seen cases where people will spend more time and effort planning a 2 week vacation than they will for mapping out the next 25 years of their life.
Yep.
So I think another of the traps that people fall into is having this sort of stereotype of the ideal retirement, like we're going to hold hands and ride off in the sunset and live happily ever after. And that really is a stereotype that should go by the board. because
Hmm.
we're talking about a period of time of 25 to 30 years of life ahead.
Yeah.
And there's a lot that can be done, a lot of opportunities in that time period. And so to not plan for it would be a real failure. I also think you need to start early. Like in any good plan, you don't just wait till the last minute till you're at your retirement party and then you walk out the door and you say, now what? I think it's a really good idea to start thinking about these things, maybe even 3 to 5 years before you're going to make this transition, and start putting the pieces in place so that when you actually do walk out the door, you can take some time and enjoy your newfound freedom. But I've heard quite frequently people say, I had a bucket list. There were like 12 things in my bucket list, things I wanted to do when I retire. And it's 2 years later and I've done them all. And
Yeah.
now I don't know what to do. So to preempt that problem, starting early, having a plan, and shedding that notion of what the someone else's vision or version of your retirement looks like, and really defining it for yourself. And just
Sure.
like we have a financial portfolio, we need to have a life portfolio. A good financial portfolio has different asset classes, stocks, bonds, cash, hedge, etc. A life plan should have the various elements of it. What are you going to do for purpose? Are you going to volunteer? What about family and friends? What about learning and maybe going back to school, taking courses? So there are so many facets to a life plan, and it really is important to start thinking about those and really put together a proper plan and not just leave it to chance, as I know a lot of people tend to do these days.
Sure. Yeah, and as you said, we've got a long tail. There you mentioned, we can be around another 20, 30 years after we officially hit, traditional retirement age or, so that is a lot of time to
Sure
leave
is,
to
yeah.
chance or just, sometimes people's plan is time with the grandkids or we're going to travel. It's like, well, we can't do much of that right now. So, what?
Well, when you actually put it in perspective, you think that, you spent the first 30 years of your life getting educated, starting your career. That's the 0 to 30. Then you spent another 30 years or 35 years, 30 to 65, raising children, a family, succeeding in your career. And then you get to 65. And these days, because of longevity, we're all living much
Yeah.
longer than any previous generation. So that time period is significant. It could be as much as a third of your life.
Yeah,
And we're
absolutely.
quite intentional when we go to school, get degrees, and then quite intentional during our working career, but then we need to be intentional about this phase as well.
Yeah, for sure. And, for many of us women, we wear a lot of different hats through our lives, take on a variety of roles over time. So, given this, what are some of the issues women in particular face when it comes to planning for their next phase?
Sure. Well, first of all, if you're a woman in a relationship, if you're a couple, I think it's really important to have the conversations with your partner about what this next phase looks like. It's really sad when people don't communicate and then they get to this phase and they've realized they have completely different ideas about what they want to do in their lives. And that has actually led to quite a phenomenon which we call gray divorce.
Mm,
And actually, people over the age of 55 have 3 times as much possibility of divorce as people in
wow.
the younger cohorts. So it's quite a significant issue for people if they're not fully transparent and on board with their partner in this. I think if you're a single woman and you're thinking about your transition, or even if you're a couple, that it is critical to have your financial house in order. So make sure that you've got enough savings, enough retirement income, that you're not going to be caught short if you end up living to age 100 and you don't
Mhm.
want to run out of money. I also think for women, this is really the first generation where women have had such powerful careers and have actually played a lot of the roles that men used to play.
Mhm.
And in my experience as an advisor, I found that women struggled as much with this transition as typically as men did. So, for women that have been in positions of influence, power, status, and so on, the risk is that they fall hard when they lose all that by
Oh,
exiting
yeah.
from their career. I guess there are other types of categories that women fall into. I mean, women are traditionally the caregivers for
Hmm.
a family. So a lot of women are in that sort of sandwich generation where they may have aging parents that they're responsible for. They may have adult children move back in, especially these days. And there may be an expectation that they're going to be babysitters and taking care of grandchildren. So I think again, it's really important to have the conversations and be really clear about what you want first. And then how does that fit with the people that are close to you and that are part of your family or your circle that are
Yeah.
counting on you or part of your life?
Excellent advice. Thank you so much for that, Susan. And last question is, how can people find you if they'd like to get in touch?
Sure. So if you are interested in the Success Finder assessment, my website, www.successdna.ca. So that's CA for Canada.com won't get you there in this case. So that's a good place to start. You can contact me through the website or send me an email directly at susan@successdna.ca. And if you're interested in more general work about you're working with your financial advisor or just in general about what you're going to do in your retirement, you have bigger picture questions, then our website, next chapter lifestyleadvisors.com or Susan at nextchapterlifestyleadvisors.com. So a couple of ways to reach me. I'm also on LinkedIn as well. If you prefer to connect through LinkedIn, I'll be happy to do that too.
Great. Well, thanks so much for being here, Susan, and sharing your story and your wisdom and recommendations with us. I really appreciate it and your insights for our listeners. And
Thank,
it's time. Yeah, so thank you so much. And have good holidays too.
thank you. Same to
You
you.
you bet. And it's time once again to wind down the show with my reignition recommendation, a weekly career tip to support you in making mid to late career transitions. My suggestion for you this week is to consider who can be an accountability partner for you as you take action and make changes toward your goals. And ideally, this is someone who can be objective and won't be directly impacted by the changes you make, to have as much neutrality as possible to avoid any undue influence, and who can also hold your feet to the fire, especially when you have a setback or some self doubt. Hey, thanks, Eric, for your support today, as always. What
Thank
did
you.
you enjoy from our time with Susan today?
Just a great conversation.
Yeah, excellent advice and recommendations from her
Absolutely.
today. And thanks again, Susan. And join us next Wednesday at 3 o'clock for our monthly Best Job, Worst Job episode, when I'll share listener stories with a few tips along the way with some career news. As a reminder, you can share your story by email at reignitingyou@gmail.com or call 360-436-6496 to leave a voicemail with your first name and location to share it over audio. That's 360-436-6496. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll talk to you next week on Reigniting You.